All right, now, so what we're going to go ahead and do is switch gears and boldly go into our favorite recurring segment that we do each week. And because we are hardworking dads, because we are attentive husbands, and you know, just trying to do our best to be our best.
Sometimes
we have brought a segment back called Boldly Dadding. And this is where we just share a story or a lesson that we've learned during the past week as dads to young kids. So I'm going to let Vactor go first.
Yeah, so this week, I've been thinking a lot about the movie Monsters Incorporated. Shoff, are you a fan of Monsters Incorporated?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A classic Pixar movie that, if you haven't seen it, great film. But the idea in that film was that monsters are real, and the way that their city is powered, the electricity of Monstropolis, is children screaming. So the scaring part about monsters being under the bed or hiding in the closet, the impetus behind that is to get power for their city. So they collect screams, they collect scares. And by the end of the film, they end up finding out that children's laughter is more powerful than their screams. And I have witnessed this now firsthand, Shoff. And I know that the writers and the creators of Monsters Incorporated are definitely dads, because I can't think of any other way you would think of this idea besides the fact that my son has very big emotions, and he goes back and forth between crying and laughing at the drop of a hat. He will have tears streaming down his face and just be laughing because he goes from one moment to the next. So it's a little bit hard to tell if he is actually hurt or sad, because he will switch over to laughter so quickly. But I've experienced him screaming in my ear as I'm comforting him, and then I'll make him laugh, and then he'll start laughing in my ear. And both have a very strong visceral reaction out of me as an adult, where when he's crying, when he's sad or he's hurt, I want to comfort him. I want to help him.
Oh, sure.
When he's laughing, I just start laughing. His joy is contagious. And so I've noticed that these emotions come out of me, or they're very strong, of either I want to help him out, I don't want him to be sad, or I don't want him to be hurt. But when he's laughing, it's like the best feeling in the world, and I want to make him laugh every time I see him. So that's just something that this week I kind of locked in on, and I said, man, Monsters Inc. was very accurate. The laughter does power me and his emotions. I'm connected to him. So it's just something that it's funny. And I told the Rick and Morty story where he was pulling his shirt up on a previous episode, and when I started laughing, then he started laughing. And so the laughter is just a cycle of us making each other laugh. And it's now, I think, my favorite thing in the world is to hear him laugh.
Oh, that's sweet. That's super sweet. At first I was worried when you brought up the Monsters Inc. thing that you were going to say that you plugged your son in, and now your son's laughs are powering your home. And if he's not laughing, he's crying, but he's still powering your home. And I was like, okay, all right. So you're finding a life hack to get around paying your power bills. Okay, I got it. Okay. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, laughter is the best medicine for sure. Whenever my daughter is feeling down or upset, or maybe she got a boo-boo or something, like I'll always try to figure out some way to make her laugh, because it'll take her mind off of what is bothering her, especially if it's like a boo-boo or something that she could just focus on and just be upset about, because she can see it, and just seeing it makes her upset. So like distraction a little bit. Laughter is a good distraction. Comedy is a good way to sort of realign and redirect. So I think you got the right idea, my good man, my fellow dad.
Yeah. How about you, Shaw?
So a couple of things real quick. Very proud dad moment So I've been working with my 5-month-old daughter, Sage, on talking. So we want to get her first words. We want to start hearing her speak. Her older sister, Emily, first spoke at 5 months. So we're like, hey, maybe it could happen this month. It could happen. So I've been working really hard. I've been, every time I get time with her, I'm always like, dada, 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 dada. Like I just, a million different ways I try to say dada, to make it a comfortable word for her to say back to me. And wouldn't you know it, yesterday, she said her first word.
Oh,
what was it? Mama. It was mama. Not dada, mama. And I came upstairs and she was, mama, mama, mama. She was just like doing it was so cute. I got it on video. So glad I got it on. I always keep my phone in my pocket, which is not ideal, but I do it because there's so many great moments that you can easily miss as a dad if you don't like take it out to capture it. And so like I have so many pictures, so many videos on my phone. But I was able to get a recording of her saying, mom, 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 mom. And then after the video, I leaned up to her, I went, we had a deal. It's like, Sage, we had an understanding. You were going to say dada first. But no, I'm still happy. I'm still proud of her. Still excited because she got her first words out. Same time frame, 5 months. Just wild. So,
Nice.
So very, very cool to hear her voice for the first time, and excited to see what new words she says next.
Yeah.
So that's the real quick proud dad moment. But I wanted to slightly pivot away from boldly dadding this week for my segment and talk about boldly manning, if you will. So the other day, this past week, we had pest control come out to the house, and it was like a return visit. They were doing a checkup to see how things are. We've got like a mole problem in the front yard. So after the visit, you could tell that he wanted to chat. He wanted to kind of just like connect with me man to man. And I could just sense it off of him because he didn't want to leave. Like he wanted to continue to chat with me, which I thought was kind of weird, but I was like, okay, whatever. Clearly this guy needs some friendships or whatever. So he wanted to chat some more. But the first thing he leaned to was sports. And he was like, hey, how about them Mariners? So he's talking about a Seattle team. And I was like, he doesn't know this about me, but I don't follow sports. Like no offense to any of our listeners who like sports, but I don't care about sports. Like it could not be like lower on the totem pole for me. That doesn't mean I don't know anything about it. I just choose not to like subject myself to sports. Like I love watching hockey and I'll go to hockey games if somebody invites me. I'll even buy tickets occasionally, but like I don't like most sports. I definitely don't like baseball. It's too slow. You know, basketball, too many stops and starts. I just, football is fun. Hockey is fun. Those are the two sports I enjoy watching. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point is that he felt the only thing he can connect with me on was sports. And so he's like talking about the Mariners. And I was like, I'm going to let this guy lead the conversation because I don't know anything about this stuff. But I don't want to let him know that I don't know anything about it. And I don't know why I do that, but I guess it's partially me wanting him to not feel like the outcast of the conversation as much as me not wanting to feel like the outcast of the conversation. So it's like, I don't want him to be alone in his thoughts, and I don't want him to know that I'm not up on this. So, so I'm like, I'm going to let this guy just, talk, and then I'll find a moment to interject. So he's like, yeah, Mariners, man. Oh, these past few years just been really, really super duper rough. And so he says that, and I say to myself, okay, he's building up to something. As a storyteller, just looking at it, like I'm trying to analyze it from a totally different perspective. I'm like, he's talking about the Mariners sucking for like 3-4 years. That tells me that they no longer suck. That's my like deductive reasoning. I'm like, they're probably doing a lot better now, and that's what he's leading up to. And so I took a chance. And I said, well, thankfully thankfully this season it's a different story, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm so glad they're doing so much better. So I guessed right, which was just so funny to me, because I had no idea. And I could have been totally wrong. I could have just like buried myself in a much bigger hole if I had said wrong. Or I was like, oh, they're doing so great this year. He's like, what are you talking about? Are you even watching? They suck still. No.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
But the point I was making is, you know, he's talking about sports and he's leaning into that. And then the conversation continues because now he knows that I'm like with it, that I know what he's talking about. And so he's like, he goes on and on about it. And I say something to the effect of, gosh, I'm blanking now. I was like, you know what? They're not just due. The Mariners are not just due, they're overdue, right? And he's like, yeah, he's just eating up what I'm saying. Oh, and at the end of like the conversation, like I was talking with my wife about it, and she brought up a really good point. She's like, you know what? Guys do this. Guys want to connect with each other, but they just don't know how to open up without relying on something like external. Like rather than like talking just from like their own like heart space or just like what's on their mind, they feel the need to like connect through some means like sports or news or weather or something external from themselves. And that's just a little view into the toxic masculinity, which is that you can't just be open and honest and real with another man. In a totally like platonic, we're not talking about a relationship situation, just like two men talking to each other. Like you can't just be open with yourself.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? It's true. It's totally true. Like as men, not just as dads, but as men, we need to do a better job of just saying what's on our hearts and minds, not worrying about being judged by other men. Because I think the more men that feel comfortable doing that, the more other men will feel comfortable doing that. Because for whatever reason, society has built this up as men are not allowed to dig deep.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? It's weakness. That's what it is men can't show any type of weakness at all, whether it's emotional.
Don't cry.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. And 100%, it shouldn't be that way. Everyone, men and women, should be equal to have emotions. They shouldn't be, well, the men are tough, so rub some dirt on it and get back out there versus, oh, the women, it's okay to be emotional because you're a woman. It should be equal. Each gender should have their own willingness, and you should be able to express yourself and not feel like you're going to be judged for, oh, if I'm a man and I cry, I'm weak. That should not be the sentiment. It should just be we're all human beings. We all have emotions, and if you show your interior, it should not be, oh, you're a weak person because you're exposing yourself. It should be, oh, that's just a part of that person. They're showing it to me and they're vulnerable. You should not take advantage of someone being vulnerable and saying, oh, you're weak because you're vulnerable.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I apologize. I was laughing during your explanation because my wife is in the window right next to me holding up my 5-month-old and making funny faces at me at the same time. So
my wife has done that before. I've been there, so I know.
So she's catching me live.
Yeah,
live. We'll do it live. But yeah, I just think, you know, as Vactor said, as we're talking, just if I could give any advice to just men in general out there, is just be honest with yourself and just be real, and it'll encourage others to do the same. And hopefully we can put a kibosh and an end to this masculinity that's honestly a little bit toxic and should not continue. It's a generational problem that needs to go.
Right. 100%.